For the GRE, I had my teenage sister tutor me in algebra because I had forgotten it. We had to go over FOIL again.
Classic.
And I was
First,
like,
outer,
she was
inner,
like, how could you
last.
forget this? She was just so insulted because it was just her whole life. And I was like, you don't FOIL regularly. I don't FOIL. Sometimes you just have to be a little scrappy and piece things together yourself. And there's no rule that says you have to do it in this particular order. It's just you have to get a bachelor's degree just to be qualified.
You have to do the first part first, and then it's outer.
Yes. First,
FOIL
outer,
jokes.
inner.
You're listening to Work in Progress, a podcast that helps you understand and navigate the world of work. Work in Progress is a podcast that belongs to the Virginia Audio Collective. Tune in and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on the UVA Career Center website. For more resources, follow the UVA Career Center on Facebook and Instagram. I'm your host, Jessie, and I'm a career peer educator and a UVA student.
And I'm your host, Kate, and I'm a career counselor at the UVA Career Center. This week on Work in Progress, we talk about grad school.
So Kate, should I go to grad school? Thoughts, opinions, etc.
How about hello?
Hello. No.
Hello, how are you?
No, thank you. Should I go to grad school? Please say yes or no.
You know, that's funny. Students actually come in and say that. They'll ask us in advising appointments, do you think I should do this? And then, I just met you. How could I possibly tell you exactly what you need to do for not the rest of your life, but 1 to 8 years, depending.
Yeah.
It could take up to 8 years,
You should just make up an answer, for every student. You would ruin a lot of people's lives. Don't do that, please.
Yeah, not in that business. Not in that business. But it's an important question. Lots of people are thinking about it. I think we have a super high achieving student population, so lots of people aspire to have higher education than a bachelor's degree, which is great. That's wonderful, but there are lots of issues to think about and consider.
So if you can't tell me yes or no explicitly right away, then how am I supposed to know or figure out if I should go to grad school?
So if we're being serious now, are you being serious?
Yes, Kate, I literally just applied to grad school.
Okay. So we're serious.
Yeah.
They're not all the same. And so I guess I would ask you a little bit about your goals. Is your goal to get into a profession where you know you're going to need a specialized degree? Are you just trying to get a leg up on the competition? Like you know that people with master's degrees are going to be applying to the same jobs that you're applying for and that you want to advance your possible career goals or plans? I think that makes sense. Or then there's the fear factor, which is, are you just kind of scared to apply for jobs or scared of what's coming after school is over because you're really good at school and that's been a safe place for you? Sorry, I got really serious.
I mean, but it is a serious and difficult decision, too, because it's not just time you're putting in, but also money. I think what a lot of people are considering, too, is, how do I value my time? And, unfortunately, how then is my time valued in the market?
So in all honesty, when people do ask us, should I go, and they really do just want advice about that decision-making process, there are some typical questions that we could ask to help them to reflect a little bit and think about their decision. One would be, are you prepared right now for more years of school? And so if you're a graduate student, the likelihood is that you're going to have a full load of courses. And then on top of that, you'll probably be doing research, teaching, committing even lots more time to that particular subject. So you really have to be ready and you have to be committed. You're also most likely looking at a smaller cohort of people than you were with in undergrad. And so I think the accountability factor kind of is higher in some ways because you're going to see the same people in the same classes. And if you don't show up for one or if you're slacking off a little bit, that becomes really noticed, particularly if you're funded. That's not going to be as acceptable. Another question would be, are you prepared to spend the next 2 to 7 years studying while living on a limited budget and or accruing some debt?
That's a really tough question.
I recommend looking at a cost of living calculator for the cities that you're looking at, thinking about a budget planning tool. A lot of people don't realize, I think, when they're first thinking about graduate school, that there are different ways to do the math on whether it's financially viable for you or not. The planning process has to do with looking into loans and things like that, but there are also graduate assistantships and teaching opportunities. that might really change how that landscape looks. You might have it in your mind that you're going to be a full-time student and you're going to completely immerse yourself in this world, but people who are interested in going on and getting further education can do it in lots of different ways. There are lots more online opportunities now, or even hybrid programs. There are distance programs where you might just go somewhere for summer or just on the weekends, things that are for working professionals. I went to school part-time when I was in graduate school, and that worked for me. And so there are lots of different ways to really think about how you might make this work. It doesn't have to just happen within a certain time frame in a very specific way. Some employers also will pay for you to do graduate work or further your education in some way. And so that could be a skills-based class, a certificate program. It could be a graduate program. Typically, you have to be at the organization for a little while before they'll pay for that. But definitely ask when you are job searching and doing interviews about what funding is available, because that could also help you to make some really great decisions about where you work after you graduate if you do have graduate school as a goal somewhere in your life. So is it worth it? One of the cool things about grad programs is that they do have the ability to collect data because they're smaller. That's a lot more specific. So you could actually go to the master of programs that you're looking at and say, tell me where everybody has jobs. And they should probably be able to tell you that. Whereas at UVA, for an undergraduate population of over 10,000 people, it's really, really hard for us to say, where does everyone end up after they graduate? The other thing to think about is whether the profession you want to go into really heavily favors people who have that advanced degree. There are professions that require licensure, certification. There are clearly cases where you have to go on and get that additional education. That's going to be a bottom line requirement. There are other professions where there might be more of a preference for a master's degree versus years of experience.
You know, you'll see a job description. It's like 2 to 5 years of experience or a master's degree.
You got neither.
Yeah, and it's like,
when people are looking at a master's or years of experience, I think it's because both have professional value. You shouldn't necessarily read that as, oh my gosh, I have to go get that degree, or I'm doomed. The other thing is just do both. Go ahead, apply to grad school. Also apply to jobs. Just allow yourself to see how competitive you are. If you feel like you're unsure, but you have that just nagging feeling of regret, like, oh, if I don't apply, I will always wonder if I would have gotten in, then if it feels worth it for you to pay the application fees and go through the work to write your personal statements and get your letters of recommendation. Certainly don't want to stop anyone from trying to pursue their academic goals. We also have some really great resources on gap years or bridge years. Ways to spend your time that might actually help you build your application, might help you build skills, learn a little bit more about what it's like to be in the world of work. Maybe you'll like it a lot more. Maybe you'll like leaving at 5 o'clock and having a life in the evenings. But it's something that you have to test out and just see what works best for you. So I guess if the answer to these questions is yes, 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 then you start actually trying to figure out what type of program are you interested in. And there are lots of ways to do that research. Obviously, you did a lot of research. Do you want to talk about anything that was really helpful for you so far?
In, like, looking for grad schools? My biggest thing was just time and money. A lot of what I was doing was comparing different programs in tuition costs, scholarship opportunities. Also, a big thing for me was, like, hands-on experience. Are they giving me opportunities to work with different organizations, like consult for them, actually, like, put into practice what I'm doing? Because part of the reason I'm applying is to get my foot in the door in jobs. If I can get a master's and then also get experience I can put on a resume in addition to the section on my education, I would love that.
And how did you do that research?
Literally Googling, seeing what schools had programs available, then just going on their websites. Then from there, I sort of narrowed it down of kind of like, would I like to live at this place? Probably not. So, like, maybe don't look there.
I think location can make a difference. If it's something like politics or policy, you might have more people in D.C. because they're also contributing in some other ways to the economy of that area. Same thing for film schools in Los Angeles or, media and journalism in New York. Think about where their internship placements might be.
Also, just talking to people in what I want to do.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
There's no one better than a current graduate student to talk to if you have access to them. So think about your TAs, think about people who are currently in programs at the University of Virginia. I think talking to your faculty is really terrific. Hopefully there's been something in your curriculum that's really excited you, and that's why you're thinking about graduate school. We have pre-health and pre-law advising in our office, so if those are some of the programs that you're thinking about, we actually have professional advisors to help. We also have a professional and graduate school fair every year through the Career Center. It's typically in September.
Taking standardized tests is also time and money, so that's something I considered. So looking at if they required a GRE or not, because not all schools did, which is helpful. But like, for example, if I was going to med school, the MCAT's a must. If I was going to law school, taking the LSAT's a must. So I think a misconception is that like, oh, if you're going to grad school, you need to take some sort of standardized test. That isn't true 100% of the time. So that is something to consider. And if you really don't like taking standardized tests, depending on your program, it's not something you have to do.
I think that's another one of those cases where you have to really do specific research on the specific program. You have to find out the details because, again, it's not going to be like applying to college where everybody's going to fall in line with the same requirements. And so, yes, generally the GRE would be required for master's and PhD programs that are in your arts and sciences types of fields. I mean, the truth is, like, the GRE is not hard, and, like, all of our students are going to do fine on it. It is the grown-up SAT, and they offer it a gamillion times a year. It's just a very, very different ball game from doing LSAT or MCAT. You almost can't even put them in the same category.
No.
It's also important to look at the tests that are going to be required on the other side. So this won't be the last time that you do testing. You'll have to do comps for a lot of your programs or a master's thesis. And so trying to think about your learning style and what's really going to work for you can be helpful there. If you do anything that requires licensure, you might have to do ongoing testing and continue to prove yourself and to do professional development. And so thinking about the type of learner you are and how much testing you feel comfortable with, those would be really helpful things to consider. Did we answer your question, Jessie? Did you decide?
I'm unsure still.
I think when it comes down to it, this is a lot about decision making. And so thinking both passionately and rationally, being balanced about your decision is really important. And think about how you make other really good decisions in your life. Do a pros cons list. Do some good research. Make sure you have all the information. Talk to trusted advisors. Talk to your family. Talk to your siblings. Talk to people who have been in this situation before. The hardest part about this decision, I think, is that it isn't a have to. It's a choice.
Graduate school is a very personal decision. You really need to make the time and space to be able to like ask a lot of these questions, do a lot of research, and talk to a lot of people, which I think is like unfortunate in some ways because I think it's harder for those that don't have those connections. But like that's why the Career Center exists.
And I think if you are somebody who doesn't have any mentors that have gone to graduate school, which would be pretty normal considering that's most of the population, consider Virginia Alumni Mentoring, looking people up online, come to the Career Center and just have a conversation about some of these things. We could potentially refer you to someone, talk to your TAs, graduate students here at UVA. And we have really great information on our website as well that kind of helps you walk through some ideas about what to consider as you're making your decision.
Work in Progress is a podcast by the UVA Career Center, the Virginia Audio Collective, and WTJU. I'm your host, Jessie, and my co-host is Kate. Work in Progress is produced by Mary Garner-McKee. Our music is from Blue Dot Sessions. Follow the UVA Career Center on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and check out our website at career.virginia.edu.